Trump, who is in Chicago this morning. Mr. Trump, you've said that you don't incite any of this activity, but at several of your rallies, you've said that protesters, you said about one, I'd like to punch him in the face. Another, you suggested that it would be better if he was taken out on a stretcher. You suggested if one thought about throwing a tomato, that your supporters should knock the crap out of them. So how is that not encouraging the kind of behavior we're now seeing?
Well, let me just tell you, first of all, with all of the rallies I've had, and I get more people than anybody by, as you know, by a lot, thousands and thousands of people, 25,000 people is almost getting standard. You haven't seen one person even injured at one of our rallies. And the cases you're talking about, the one guy was a bad dude. He was swinging, he was hitting people, he was a very bad guy, and the police came in and they really were very effective. And frankly, some of the audience members had no choice but to be effective, and I didn't mind that at all. Or they would have been hurt, frankly. The other one with the tomatoes, I was told by the Secret Service that there are 2 people in the audience we've heard that have tomatoes and they're going to throw them at you. They have good arms that could do some damage, okay? And I said to the people before my speech started, if you see anybody with tomatoes, you got to take them out, folks. You got to take them out. And I think everybody understands that. You
say no one was hurt, but there was a gentleman who was walking out. The video shows him being escorted out, and then a supporter cold-cocked him. He was hurt, so there was somebody hurt, and he wasn't doing any damage when he was walking out. He was cold-cocked. You had suggested in one of your rallies that you would pay for the legal fees. Will you pay for the legal fees for that gentleman?
Well, I'm going to review it, and I understand, and I don't condone violence, and I don't condone what happened to him and what he did, because he got carried away, and it's very unfortunate. But this kid was walking out, and I understand he had a certain finger up in the air as he's walking out, and this man became very angry. And you know what? Again, I don't condone violence, but the kid shouldn't have had the finger up in the air either, okay, if that's what he did. So I'm going to take a look at the tape, and I'll let you know.
So is that the threshold? Is just the wrong gesture, and it's okay to clock him?
Well, I think that's a terrible gesture, if you want to know the truth. I mean, we can say, oh, it doesn't matter, but I think it's a terrible gesture. And you know, it's interesting. These people are disruptors. They're not protesters. They're disruptors. They're professional disruptors in some cases, but that's all they do. They stand up and they disrupt. And if somebody did that at a Bernie rally, many of these people come from Bernie. And, you know, I have tremendous young people also. We have a whole level of young people. I can't even believe it, how young my audience is. But if they ever went to Bernie's rallies and did the same thing, I want to tell you, you would be so angry with me. Nobody talks about it, but you would be so against me. It's a whole different standard when it comes to a Republican conservative versus a liberal. If people went to their rallies and disrupted their rallies like my rallies are disrupted, the press would stick up for them and would make all sorts of excuses about how terrible it is. So, you know, we have 2 standards in this country. It's very unfortunate. The press is extremely dishonest.
When you talk about these protesters, you said these are bad, bad people. We're going to take our country back from these people. These people do nothing. Who are these people in that case?
Well, I see people in the audience that I don't think they have a great future. I think they're disruptors. I think they are not in love with our country. I think they protest and they disrupt. That's what they do. I don't know if they do it for a living. I don't know if they get paid for doing it. But they are not good people, and they are certainly not good for our country. And the people that come to my rallies, these are extraordinary people. These are great people. These are people that are really disenfranchised in many cases. Now, with that being said, we have very successful people. We have the smartest. We have the best educated. We have people that aren't educated as well. You know, if you look at the polls coming out of all these states that I've won, which is most of them, if you look at the polls coming out, I lead with Hispanics, I lead with women, I lead with, you know, very well educated. I lead in all different categories. Very proudly, I lead with evangelicals, I lead with veterans, I lead in every category. So I have everybody there, but we really do have a young crowd. And remember this, if they went to a Hillary rally, although nobody cares too much about the Hillary rallies because there's absolutely no fervor there, but if they went to a Bernie rally, everybody would say, oh, what a terrible thing. They disrupt me from talking, and I do the best I can with it. And by the way, and you've heard me say it, don't hurt them. And I'm constantly saying to the police, don't hurt them, don't hurt them. I don't condone violence, but some of these people are violent.
Let me ask you a policy question. At the debate, you talked about H-1B visas. You said, it's something I frankly use and I shouldn't be allowed to use it. When you've talked about the bankruptcy laws, you've talked about how you took advantage of them. When you and I talked about your taxes, you say you try and pay as little as possible. If you're president, why would anybody follow the laws that you put in place if they knew you were taking advantage of those laws when you were in the private sector?
Because I know the game better than anybody, because I've been on the other side. I built one of the greatest companies. I did a filing which shows one of the great companies, great assets, very little debt, tremendous cash flow, some of the greatest assets in the world. But let me just tell you, I use the bankruptcy laws just like other very successful people. I don't want to use their names, but I could name 10 people right now, the biggest people in all of business. We do it. It's the game we play. We use the laws of the land.
But why wouldn't people just keep playing?
That's the way we play the game. Wait a minute. As far as the visas are concerned, I'm not doing anything wrong. I think those visas shouldn't be allowed, but they are allowed. They're part of the fabric of what you do. So I'll use it. I mean, I'm a businessman. Now that I've turned politician, I hate to say that almost about myself, but now that I'm running for office, I know the game better than anybody. I'm the one that can fix all of this stuff. But when you talk about, I never went bankrupt. I never went bankrupt. You understand I never went bankrupt. But you take a look at the business leaders, every once in a while, I have 500 companies. I have so many different companies, and a very few I will take advantage of, frankly, by using the laws of the land, as every other major business person does.
But that's what I want to ask about the playing of the game, because when you were with Ben Carson, who endorsed you this week, I mean, you said he was pathological, and then both of you said, well, oh, that was just politics. So you're saying it's just the game. But if the most serious things you say about a person are just politics, it's just the game, then why isn't everything you're saying just a game and just politics and totally open to revision?
Well, that is politics. I mean, I say bad things about people, and they say bad things about me. And actually, Ben wrote it in his book. I just read sections of his book. I read what Ben wrote. I'm not going to make up anything. I mean, I could tell you about John Kasich. He's done a terrible job in Ohio, and people think he's done a good job. He's losing his businesses. Real estate taxes have gone through the roof. He talks about not raising taxes. The real estate taxes in Ohio have gone through the roof. He approved NAFTA. He voted for NAFTA, which has destroyed Ohio, and now he's voting for TPP, which is going to be worse than NAFTA. They're going to take all the car industry, everything else out. His coal industry is dead, and his steel industry is dead. And, you know, I mean, give me a break. And you tell me about how good he's doing. He's doing a terrible job for Ohio.
Okay, we're out of time, Mr. Trump. Thanks so much.
Thank you.